Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing this Friday? I hope you all are happy and safe, and the weather is lovely where you are, because it certainly isn't lovely where I am. We're going to do a little housekeeping and say hellos and stuff like that. I am also just going to check that I am going live, and I am, so I'm going to cancel out of this little screen here. All right, awesome. Let me know if I'm too loud. I think I might be too loud. Hold on. How was that? How you guys doing today? I'm really excited to have you here. So let me say hello to Hashem, Michelle, Animal Hospital of Statesville, Daniel, Vincent, Cash is here. Dason is here from Motion Master Templates. Joselle, is here. Ben is here. Vincent. Laura is here. I saw that Karen Umber is here, and Colette are here, even though I don't see them scrolling. Kathy Oneto is here. Kathy Oneto is one of my partners at Verhal, an incredibly brilliant strategist. So say hi to Kathy. She's a person to know. Christy. Andrea, great to see you from the Facebook group. Tom, Mitzi. Awesome that you guys are all here. I'm really excited that you decided to join me today. And so we got a lot of great things to have happen. And for one thing, come on, man. Hold on a second. Yes, my second camera is working today. Yes, it was so lame that it went down last week. I love the fact that I can do this, so I can switch back and forth between cameras. How fun is that? It's like a little mini TV studio. I'm such a kid with technology. I can't help myself. Jacques, Cindy, Tom, good to see you. So today we are going to talk about how to build an audience and how to build an audience from scratch. And I know how to build an audience from scratch because I did it myself, starting about 4.5 years ago. And I'm going to tell you what I did, but also some of the tricks and techniques and things that you got to pay attention to when you are building an audience. And so couple little housekeeping things. First of all, I want to share with you guys, I know a lot of you here. Hey, Peter. Hey, Joel. Swati, you're here. Victoria. A lot of the folks here in the group are from the Facebook group. I have just launched a Facebook group called the Brand Design Masters Facebook group. And it is full of creative professionals and entrepreneurs that are looking to increase their skills, grow in their businesses, and learn about design and business and strategy, and to network with each other and to get better at what they do and to get expert feedback on what they're doing, get motivation, be held accountable, all the amazing things that come from being part of a vibrant and incredible Facebook professional group. So thank you guys for coming from the group to attend the live. I really appreciate it. And for anyone who's brand new, hasn't joined that group yet, the URL is on the screen. It's called the Brand Design Masters group. And I encourage you to come join. It's a private group, so you have to apply. You have to answer the 3 questions that are there, and you have to agree to the community rules and regulations. But chances are you will get in. And it's growing very quickly. We're over 300 members now, and it's only been about a week and a half, so I'm super stoked about that. One thing I wanted to ask you guys, the ones who are here. Oh, Rick Lewis. Rick Lewis is awesome. Ex-client, huge friend. I wanted to ask those of you who are part of the Facebook group right now, I'm going to ask you, one of the things I'm going to talk about today is to share. If any of you have not shared it with people who you know in your network who might benefit from being in the Brand Design Masters Facebook group, please send them invitations and invite them to join. Some people have, a dozen people. I've approved people and like slews of people who are all being referred by others. So that's how the group grows. That's how we stay strong. That's how we bring in new energy and new life and a broader range of people and a broader range of skill sets from junior to very senior, and make the group amazing. So I'm going to ask you guys, if you haven't asked your networks, please do so. If you publish on Twitter, if you publish on LinkedIn, if you publish on your blog, publish, take a screenshot of the Facebook group, post it, give the URL, ask creative professionals to join. Word of mouth endorsement is the best endorsement in the world. And if it's coming from you and you really like it and you think it's valuable, please pass the word along. Okay, so we'll come back to that, I'm sure, at some point during the live. But Amari, good to see you. She's from the Facebook group. Paul, Mangat, this is great. Thank you guys all for coming. Yeah, please announce where you are from, what you do, what your specialty is. The lovely and talented Joselle Tech is the moderator. She is my marketing assistant and a super talented woman who's got her own YouTube channel and her own agency, and I'm going to put that up on the screen. Joselle just launched a new YouTube channel. She had an old one that did very well, but it was on a different subject, and so she's just launched a new one, and so I encourage you to check out her videos. She's an incredibly inspiring woman, a killer moderator, and a great member of my team. So, with that, let's see, what else do we want to talk about? Hold on a second. Oh, hey. Here's the other thing. Some of you guys who have been here before know the drill, but if you are going to ask a question, Mariana, see, you just did it. Awesome. If you're going to ask a question, I'm going to take questions at the end. Joselle is going to collect the questions, copy them, and put them into Facebook Messenger for me so I can see them all at once and I don't have to scroll back through the entire feed. So if you have a question, as we go through, what I'm going to be sharing with you today, type the word question in all caps so we can call it out visually and it can be captured so I can review those at the end. So thank you very much for that. The other thing is, if you aren't in the Facebook group and didn't hear about this live there, or if you maybe just got an alert because you follow me on YouTube, please subscribe to my newsletter or my email list. Same thing. Go to philipvandusen.com/muse and sign up for the Brand Muse newsletter. It's also where I put out all my announcements when I go live, all the products, courses, digital stuff that I'm going to be doing. And you get my newsletter every couple of weeks. It's slowing down. I apologize for this for people who really like the newsletter. And I do, obviously, because I do it. But I've missed a couple of weeks, and most of that is because of the Facebook group and the amount of time I'm having to put in to approve people and build the group and engage with folks. And I apologize for the newsletter not being as Johnny on the spot as it usually is, but I promise you it will come back. But you got to juggle stuff, right? So Marv is here. Awesome, Karen. I said hello to you. Great to see you guys. And so, what are we going to be talking about today? Let's kind of jump right into it, shall we? Oh, one last thing. Sorry. You guys who are regulars, you kind of know the drill, right? So, BYOL is Bring Your Own Laptop, and it is a Adobe training website. They do a video training for Adobe products. And Daniel Scott, the guy pictured here with the white glasses, amazing guy, super nice, in Australia, living in Ireland, and he's a Adobe certified trainer, speaks at the Adobe Max conference, incredibly talented and super nice guy. I think the subscription model now is like $15 or $12 a month for access to all of their training. It's insane, the value that you're going to get. Please use my affiliate link, byol.me/Philip. I get a couple pennies for your going through my link. I'd really appreciate it. And I highly, highly, highly recommend, if you are going to use your COVID-19 time to better your skills and better yourself and get up to date on all the new capabilities of the Adobe Creative Suite, go there, do that. Okay? Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. And so, let's talk about audiences. Okay, so I've told you guys in the Facebook that I get really nervous before I go live. I don't care how many times I do it. I don't care how many times I've spoken to hundreds of people on a stage. I still get butterflies. And so I drink Red Bull in order to pump myself up even more and get my heart rate out of control. All right, it's a habit. What can I say? All right, we're going to talk about building audiences. And anyone who knows any of my history knew that I spent 25 years in big corporate, big agency. And then about 5 years ago, I left my last big corporate gig and I started my own agency. And after that 25 years, what did I have to show for an audience? I had nothing. I had a nice LinkedIn profile. I had a nice resume. I had never published any content. I had, I'd spoken, stuff like that. I worked on amazing brands, amazing projects, but I didn't have anyone following me apart from some LinkedIn connections. I didn't tweet. I didn't write. I didn't do videos. Didn't do podcasts. Didn't do anything. I had nothing. I had a black and white, 4-page website with a picture of me, a little bio paragraph, some rudimentary portfolio slideshow. That was it. And so when I went off on my own, I knew that I had to build an audience because I'd started an agency. Why did I want an audience? I wanted an audience because I wanted clients. I had heard about content marketing and that it's a great way to draw clients to you. There's two kinds of way to get clients. One is advertising. It's put it out there, pay for it. It's a promotional an activity, a promotional activity where you are paying to promote and put yourself in front of other people. Then there is attraction, content marketing, which is a magnetic process where you are putting things of value out into the world and you are drawing people to you. Why did I choose to do content marketing over advertising? One, advertising costs money. Two, content marketing is it's fun because I've always liked writing. I've always liked developing. I've been a musician my whole life. I like audio. I like video. I like photography. I've always been a good writer. So I thought content would be a great way to get clients because I'm an introvert, believe it or not, and I hate outreach. I hate cold calling. I hate pitching people cold. I hate sending them emails and saying, hey, I'm out here, I'm doing this, do you know of anybody? Are you interested? Blah, 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 blah. Getting on the phone, doing the actual cold call, hate it. So I decided that if I can put out enough content and share enough really valuable stuff, I can draw people to me. I can get clients without having to do that. So that's why I decided I needed to build an audience. And over the last 4 years, I have been very successful in building an audience. I have 194,000 YouTube subscribers, an email list that was 15,000, cut it down to 7,500 because there was a lot of, dead wood there. Got a Facebook group with 300 people in a week, 1,400 followers on LinkedIn, 2,900 connections, Twitter, Instagram, the whole thing. My followers on those aren't so big. Anyway, but I got an audience. I've been able to do it. And I wanted to share with you the process of doing that. So how do you do it? You do it, I did it because I knew valuable stuff. I knew stuff. I knew stuff about design, branding, business, career, creative professional stuff, creative professional growth stuff. And I shared it freely with the public. No expectation of return. I had a hope of return, but no absolute expectation of that. So this is what I did. I shared it with the public. Now, hold on a second. I'm controlling something with my phone. There we go. And I am also going to pop up a couple little slides. So hold on a second. There we go. Okay. Hope you guys can see that. You need to, first of all, you need to know your why. Why do you want an audience? What is your motivation for having an audience? Do you want new clients? Do you want to build your network? Do you want to sell a course? Do you want to sell books? Do you want to draw partners to you? Do you want to get appearances on podcasts or video interviews? Do you want to be asked to speak at conferences? What is it that you want an audience for? What is your motivation? Because your motivation and what you want an audience for directs how you're going to get that audience and what you're going to say to them as they start to pay attention to you. So what do you have to give them? When you decide on what your motivation is, you have to look inside yourself and say, okay, what do I have that's of value? What do I have that's of value to give people? And that closely aligns with who your audience is. So after you decide who your audience is, got a lot of things to click though. Know your why. See, just like last week, it's like I'm behind on my slides. So you want to know your why your motivation, what the reason is that you're doing this. And then you have to know your who. So who is the audience that's going to be interested in what you know? What problem of theirs are you solving? You have to be really clear about that, because the problem that you're solving is going to determine the content that you share and what you tell or show to your audience. Also, knowing who your audience is, also directs where they are. And I'm going to give you an example. This is just off the top of my head. Okay, let's say that you specialize in photography for plumbers, and where the plumbers hang out who need photography. Are you going to go to Pinterest? Is that where the plumbers hang out? Probably not. That's where women hang out who want to make salads in mason jars. What you want to do is locate where your population hangs out. If you want to get in touch with CEOs or COOs or CFOs, where are you going to find them? Are you going to find them on Instagram? Probably not. Are you going to find them on LinkedIn inside of executive groups? Yeah, very possibly. You have to think about who it is that you want to contact, who you want to get in front of, and where they are going to be. The other key thing is you have to know what it is that you want them to do. So after you start getting together what you know, what you can share of value, who you're going to share it with, who your proposed audience is going to be, what is it that you're going to be driving them to do with this content? Because that also affects the content that you're developing. So turning that slide to the next thing. What's the first thing you got to do? The first thing is you got to get a platform. The number one goal of building an audience, the number one thing you have to do is you have to be visible. To build an audience, you got to get on stage. You have to put yourself out there. You have to choose a platform, first of all. There's Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Medium, YouTube, Instagram, go on down the line. But you have to remember that those are platforms. It isn't your platform. It's somebody else's platform. Yes, we all need to start there because that's where everybody is. That's where the big audiences are. But you also have to keep in mind, and you guys in the Facebook group and who've been following my lives and YouTube videos for a while know that I beat this drum a lot, which is that you don't want to build your brand entirely on borrowed land. You want to get on stage in those places, but you want to drive people to something that you own, and that is a website. Hopefully your website. It could also be a more generalized platform. And your goal is you want to build your own and you want to drive people there ultimately. It could be an email list. It doesn't actually have to be a website. You could be driving people to a landing page to sign up for your email list, and then you have them in your email list, and your email is your platform. It could be your YouTube channel is your platform. You're getting people from one place to another. And sorry, it didn't click. The next thing you got to do is you got to find your voice, right? What is it that you want to say, and how do you want to say it? What is your point of view? Yes, you can have things to share, but there may be, and there are, I guarantee you, a lot of people sharing that thing that you share. You're not the first one to share it. But different is better than better. You've heard that before, right? Different is better than better. You can strive to be better. That's a goal. But different is differentiating, and it's better than better in a lot of cases, because what that does is it makes you rise like cream to the top of the milk. It makes you recognizable. And in order to differentiate yourself, you have to have a point of view. This is one of the things, and there's a lot of scary things in building an audience, because you are exposing yourself, you are putting yourself on a stage, and you are developing and putting out there a point of view. Whenever you have a point of view, whenever you express a point of view about anything, someone out there will have the opposite point of view. Some troll out there will take issue with it. Someone will want to flame you, whatever that is. If you take a stand, you expose yourself to criticism. But in order to differentiate yourself, to be different, you have to take your own stand. You have to have a point of view. You have to establish some sort of soapbox for yourself that you can stand for. Once you kind of get your feet under that idea, you also want to think about your tone of voice. Do you come across as smart and snarky? Do you come across as jovial and funny? Do you come across as serious and professorial? What is your tone of voice? How do you communicate? Think about your tone of voice. And then as you think about what it is that you're sharing, what value it is that you're sharing, you want to think about how you niche that down. Here's an example. Say you're an expert in cars and you want to share about, you want to have an audience who are interested in cars. That's a pretty broad subject, right? I mean, hugely broad subject. But let's say you niche that down and you say, I'm going to be an expert in custom lighting in high performance street cars. I've used this example before in videos. You might have heard it, but that is a niche topic. And I have a, kind of a pro bono client I've worked with who actually does that. He's an expert in custom lighting for high performance street cars, and he's amazing at it, and he does incredible content about it, and he's got a passionate niche audience around it who live for that shit, right? And he controls it because he knows his audience, he knows what they want, he knows what kind of content to deliver, and he knows where they hang out, and he knows what they want to see. It's easier to pick a narrow band of interest and then dive in tightly to that, establish an audience, and spread out from there. It's much harder to go in as a massive generalist and not, and then niche down or try to get interest or an audience around something that's incredibly broad, because your competition is going to be the bigwigs, right? They're the people who already have massive audiences. You have to give people a reason to want to come to you. All right. Now, the next thing that we got to do, how's everyone doing, by the way? I know I've just been blabbing on. I just go on and on. We're 23 minutes in. Mariana, Animal Hospital, Laura, Peter, Spore, Cash, still with us. Awesome. Joselle is capturing questions for me. We all good? Everything's good? Volume's good? Okay. All right. I think, Joselle, you have this kick Spore. Okay. Or mute him. All right. We need to capture sparks of inspiration. Where do you get your content? Where do you get your ideas for what you're going to share up on that stage? You need to try to become a student of inspiration. As you start to think about the content that you're going to be expressing, sharing on your stage, whatever that is, you have to start looking at other people who are doing it. Who's your competition? What are they sharing? What are they being really successful with in terms of content? There is no new content under the sun, but what is new is your take on that content. The content that is successful through the filter of you, your experience, your point of view, right? Your niche. How do you take that content inspiration and channel it through you and create your own point of view. You have to become a student of articles, of videos, of podcasts, of movies, print, right? The world, the news, anything that has to do with that subject that you're going to be sharing on. You want to look out there, see who's sharing it, what types of things they're sharing, how they're titling what they're sharing, and think about how you can be inspired by and what is your take on that content. It's all been done. What is your point of view? How are you going to get your ideas? And the next thing you want to do as you do that is you want to capture them in a list. I keep a Google spreadsheet that I keep open in Chrome all day long. It's in my startup documents. It's always open because when I come across an article or a video or a podcast or a TED Talk that I find inspiring and I have a point of view about it, or I have a twist I can take on it, and it sparks an idea or inspiration in me in order to develop some content around it, I capture it. I use Pocket, that app. I capture it, I tag it, and I'll go into my Google spreadsheet and I'll type in what my idea is. And I keep a running list of ideas for content. My idea list now in my Google spreadsheet is like, I think I counted it recently, it's like over 400 items long. And when I do content around something, I check it off and I move it to bottom and I click done, right? And I will periodically go back and revisit some content subject matter. But I'm constantly gathering, collecting, and putting in things into that Google spreadsheet. So you got to capture and learn to capture sparks, because those sparks, those things that grab you, are going to be the things that are going to grab your audience. So, and you know, once you start developing content and once you start gathering an audience, you have to keep their attention, right? Because they will go somewhere else if you don't keep the content coming out and keep the interest up. So you need to become, in order to build an audience, you need to become a student of inspiration. Okay, now the next thing is really hard. Building an audience is not easy. If you guys thought this was going to be a cakewalk, you're wrong. It takes time, it takes dedication, and this is one of the hard parts, which is you have to learn to create on demand. Most graphic designers, practicing graphic designers, creative professionals know this. When you work for an agency or a corporation, you have deadlines. You have to produce something by a period of time, right? And waiting around for inspiration to strike, like a fine artist, is not how developing content or building an audience works. You have to write, you have to design, you have to create, and you got to be able to do it when you got nothing, which is one of the reasons why I keep that inspiration spreadsheet on Google, because when I got nothing, I go to that spreadsheet. Just ask any journalist, right? The best inspiration for developing something is a deadline. When they got it, my dad was a journalist. He was a newspaperman his whole life, and you know, I lived with it. So, you know, when you got an editorial that's due in tomorrow's paper, you got to get down to business. You have to learn how to create on demand. Here's a challenge I give you guys. If any of you are developing content or are thinking about developing content, it's a 2-hour challenge. You have to come up with the idea or get it from your list, write, design, record something that you know about. You only have 2 hours to do it, beginning to end, and post it. And you have to hit post. Sometimes when you give yourself a deadline, it makes things come out. I can't tell you how many, and Joselle knows this because she puts together my newsletter from all the pieces I gather. But, you know, when I have a newsletter deadline and it's Sunday night and it's due on Tuesday and I got a bunch of stuff to pull together for it, you know, you sit down on the couch with the laptop and you rack your brain for that perfect metaphor story that's going to make your newsletter, my newsletter. And sometimes it's really, really hard, but you got to cram it out, right? You got to learn to create on demand. Is this ringing true for anybody? I'm really kind of curious how you know, Joselle says a very long list of ideas. She knows because she's seen it. Does this sound, for the people who are here watching, like Trench, you know, you guys, if you have an audience, do you understand and have you learned how to do that, create on demand? Have you found that DNA within inside of yourself? It's a question for the group. All right. And then you got to create stuff. You find the inspiration and you got to create it, right? We are all creative people. Even if you're just not, I'm going to say just, if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, you're not a creative professional, we are all creative people. Business people are creative people. They have to be because they solve business problems. So we got to create something. Blogs, videos, podcasts, tweets, Instagram pictures, Instagram stories, Instagram lives, infographics, Pinterest boards, reviews, interviews, writing an ebook, self-publishing on Amazon, publishing a newsletter, curating content. So that can also be just and I'll talk about this a little bit later, promoting other people's work, developing lead magnets, checklists, listicles, things like that. You got to create stuff because if you're on stage, you got to be delivering something, and that's the stuff that you're going to be delivering. You're going to be delivering the creative content that is the lifeblood of the interwebs, right? And then this is the tough one. This is the big one. This is the big kahuna, you guys. And this is where 90% of people fall down. This is where 90% of people fail in developing an audience. You have to hit post. You have to hit submit. You have to put it up there, and then you have to hit post. This is the scariest moment of your life, right? I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. Red Bull now is kicking in, so I'm getting wacky. When I started doing content, I'll tell you a story. When I started doing content, I had a Google blog, right? It was like Blogger. I can't remember what it was, like their blog platform. I threw up a page. I, sweated over this article. I was just like pining over it. I was like drenched in sweat. I hit post and I was like just waiting for people to come out of the woodwork and criticize me and tell me that I sucked and how did I ever have the right to publish anything. And what happened was nothing because I had no followers. And the same thing happened when I published my first YouTube video. The same thing happened, even though I'd been doing videos for 3 years, the same thing happened when I published my first podcast. Hitting post when you're putting yourself out there on a new stage to a new audience is terrifying. End of story. Big T, terrifying. It is to be expected. It is the one hardest thing that you will do. But here's the thing. You only have to get over that hurdle once. Yeah, going live, I get terrified every single time I go on. But you just have to get over that hurdle. And every single time, you have to believe me in this because I've been doing it for years and years now. Every single time you post, it gets less and less terrifying. It gets easier and easier to do. But this is the one place where most people lose it. Most people who want an audience want the return that they can get from developing a following fall down because they can't hit post. Okay, now, if you're about to hit post and you're going to do it, right? Brianna says it can be very scary. Yes, it can. I know. This is some helpful hints. Number one, whatever you put out there on your stage, you have to brand it. A lot of people forget this. Like they do these great quotes and they'll post it on Instagram. Or they'll do this, cool graphic and post it on Twitter, or they'll do a LinkedIn article. And they won't put a picture of themselves at the end or the links to their website, or they won't add their website links in their Instagram posts or their stories. Whatever you do, you got to add your logo, your photo, your company, your links, your website, your phone number, social sites, all that stuff. As much as you can within whatever the type of content is you're posting, but you got to remember to brand it, because if you start being on that stage and people start paying attention, You got to let them know how to contact you. Here's the other thing. As your stuff hopefully gets a little traction, it's going to get shared, and you're going to ask people to share it for you. When it gets shared, it's now out of your control, and it's revolving around the interwebs all by itself. It's got to have your name on it. It's got to have your contact information on it. It's got to have your website on it, your agency, whatever that is. You got to get credit for it. And if someone loves it, you want them to be able to contact you. The other thing is that every time this makes an impression, is seen by somebody, you're elevating brand awareness. And if your brand isn't attached to it, you don't get the credit. Okay. After you brand it, you're about to hit post, and you've hit post, you got to promote it, right? You have to post it on one place, but then you also have to cross-post it. You have to repurpose it. You want to post it on forums. You want to post it on groups, LinkedIn, Facebook. Get others to share it. Others won't share it unless you ask them. It doesn't happen by naturally. You got to reach out to your audience and say, hey, can you share this? Like I did. Hey, right at the very beginning of this live, what did I say? I said, I just started a Facebook group. A lot of you here are in the Facebook group. Can you share it with your friends? If I didn't ask, you might not have thought to do it. But the people who are in this group, who I know are really enjoying that Facebook group, they will share it because they know now that it's of value. And I will benefit from it, and we all will benefit from it because we'll get more people in the group, but because it's coming word of mouth from them, right? So that's awesome. All righty. And I think I missed a slide, right? No, I didn't. Okay. Then we got to make a schedule. Okay, you hit post. You got over the hurdle. You've wiped the sweat off your brow. You got a like, right? Someone commented. You asked someone to share it. They shared it in their LinkedIn feed. They retweeted it for you. You got a few more followers. You got some subscribers, right? On YouTube. You got a bunch of downloads on your podcast. Woohoo, right? Awesome. It's just beginning. We're just starting to craft that audience. Okay, here's what you got to do next. You got to make a schedule. You have to post consistently because it's like a comedian. A comedian gets up on stage and tells a lot of killer jokes, right? But then after he's told 15 jokes, and his audience is like, woohoo, they're laughing, they're really excited, right? He doesn't just stop and like cross his arms and stare, or like go get a drink of water and then, go to the bathroom and, read the paper. You have to make a schedule and you have to be consistent. I mean, I could do that. I could give a great example. I'm not going to do it, but like on this live, if I just cross my arms and stop talking for like 2 minutes, I bet half of the people in this thing would drop off. Why? Because you got to be consistent with the value that you're delivering. You have to keep your audience on the edge of their seat, interested in what's next, interested in your point of view. This is critical. Here's my saying. I say it all the time, and other people, including my moderator, have bastardized it. But it's out of feed, out of mind. The second you fall out of the feed, you are out of mind. Someone else has taken your place. This is critical. Use Google Calendar, whatever calendar app that you use, and create a schedule for yourself. For me, for my newsletter, I have a repeating date, Tuesday at 9 a.m., post Brand Muse, right? Lately, I've been missing it. But I have a right to because I've been posting for like 4 years without missing it. And you have to stick to it like a job. When I started my YouTube channel, what I did was I said, okay, and this is right before I posted my first one. I said, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I'm going to try to build an audience there. My audience is going to be creative professionals and entrepreneurs, and I'm going to teach them everything I know about branding, marketing, creative career development, and design. And I am going to post a video every week for a year, no fail. Every Monday at 10:30 a.m., I am going to post a video. And I said I'm going to stick to it like a job. I'm going to act like if I didn't do it, I would get fired. And I did that for a year. And then after I did it for a year, I did it for another year. And in over 2 years, I didn't miss a single Monday. Consistency is absolutely everything because you never know when that key is going to unlock, right? YouTube algorithm or that Google, search algorithm is going to turn in your favor because it's recognizing you as being a constant contributor. It builds credibility because people see you're a professional. It builds authority because people realize that you know a lot and you're sharing a lot. And the other thing about it is that when you're building an audience, people will develop a hunger for what it is that you offer. The people who want to get content from you will start to anticipate that cadence of getting content and information and value from you. And you want to deliver on it because it's going to keep them there in the audience, right? And it builds that authority. And the word authority has the word author in it. So you have to become an author. You have to build that credibility. And then, I touched on this a little bit before. Oh, sorry. See, I missed a slide. That was a halfway through slide. Hold on. You want to be consistent. And then you have to recycle. I love this image. This is my recycling raccoon. If you have a podcast, take that podcast, send it through rev.com, get a transcript. Rewrite that transcript, turn it into a blog. Post that blog on your website. Post that article on LinkedIn. Post it on Medium. If you have a video, get that video transcribed. Turn it into an article. If you have an article, turn it into a listicle. Turn it into a checklist. Turn it into an infographic. If you have an infographic, turn it into a video. Turn it into an article. You see where I'm going? Take your content and repurpose it into another format because people consume and take in information in different ways. That's why I started a podcast, because I realized that my audience on YouTube was generally younger than my audience, my newsletter. And my newsletter folks wanted information from me that they weren't sitting down at a computer and looking at in a video on YouTube. They were listening to everything on podcasts. So I moved into that medium. And anyone who's been watching and following me for a long time has also noticed that my first season, my first 8 episodes, are actually repurposed audio from my YouTube channel, because I had interviewed a lot of incredible people and I'd done a really few, in my opinion, pretty cool solo episodes. And I took that audio, I cleaned it up, and I published it as my first podcast season, because I knew that there were a lot of people who had never watched those interviews and never watched those solo episodes. Repurposing, really, really important. People consume things in different ways. Some people like to watch, some people like to listen, some people like to read. And when I reviewed how I was consuming, I was like, I'm consuming a lot more podcasts than I am video. I was actually really frustrated because I was trying to look at a couple of my own old videos just to after I got some time away from them, to see how they were. And usually I have time to do that when I'm walking my dogs, but you can't have a YouTube video going on your phone just to listen to it when you're doing that. It's impossible. You have to hold it and you got leashes and all that sort of stuff. So it's I had to look at the demographic and how they were choosing to consume information and adjust for that. So anyway, that's it. Recycle, right? Now, here's a really important one. This is a really, really important one in terms of building an audience, especially when you are trying to build an audience from scratch. What if you have 0 audience? What do? You use somebody else's audience. And how do you do that? You can guest post. So if someone's got a popular blog, you can write an article, say, I'll give you some free content, and it's on the subject that your blog is usually on. I'd love to guest post on your blog. I'd love to be a guest on your podcast. I'd love to be a guest on your YouTube channel for your interview. I'd like to offer, a free 15-minute course in your digital conference for free. You can leverage other people's audiences. Here's another idea. You write an article about somebody that you really admire. You take, some sort of person who's an influencer in the area that you really want to get an audience from. You write an article on them And then you share it with them and say, hey, I wrote this article on you. Would you mind sharing it on your website? Would you mind sharing on your Twitter feed? The link is going to link back to your blog. It's going to drive their traffic, their followers to your site, right? You can leverage other people's audiences. You can also hashtag things, right? You can @ people, right? You can leverage other people's audiences when you're just starting out. Some of you know that, a couple of my videos have gone viral, one in particular, a trend video. And that was because Design Taxi picked it up, a really popular design website, put it on their front page for 2 days, drove like insane traffic to this video. My subscribers went through the roof. I leveraged their audience. And what happened next year when I did the next trend video? I emailed them and I said, hey, guess what? I did another trend video for this year. You ran that last one, got 1 million views. It was obviously really popular. You want to run this year's too? And guess what? They did. They ran it again. It didn't do 1 million views, but it did like 500,000 views or something like that. But I knew, I suddenly was like, oh, duh, leverage Design Taxi's audience. Because it opened up this, this door. And let me give you another example. You can also borrow credibility. And here's an example of this. You guys are familiar with John Lee Dumas, right? He's got the very popular podcast called the Entrepreneur on Fire podcast. When John Lee Dumas started off, he started off interviewing entrepreneurs. He was not an entrepreneur. He didn't have a big podcast following. He wasn't famous. He didn't have a lot of money. I think he had just gotten out of the service. And he started interviewing entrepreneurs with his force of personality in a very specific format on a podcast. And he, through association with the expert entrepreneurs that he interviewed on his podcast, he became known as an expert in entrepreneurship. He borrowed the credibility of his guests. And then, yes, he got crazy smart and he learned how to leverage his podcast in a really smart way and got really good at podcasting and promoting his podcast and growing his podcast and all that sort of stuff. But when he started off, he borrowed the credibility of his guests to elevate himself and to learn. And he freely admits that. I've seen him speak. He talks about it. And so if you're just starting off with zero audience, you can do the same thing. You can associate yourself with people who, and that's the beauty of, the interwebs, right? You can start a podcast. You can ask a whole bunch of really influential people in your niche on, interview them, and then say, hey, I'm going to post this interview, your interview. Would you mind sending it out to your email list for me? And they will, I guarantee you. When someone interviews me on a podcast, I send that podcast out to my whole audience. So whoever interviewed me and was smart enough to ask me onto their podcast, they get exposure to my entire audience. And that is how you create that hitching a ride, to link back to my slide. That's how you hitch a ride. And then, finally, engage. This is the most important part. And all of you guys in the Facebook group, the Brand Design Masters Facebook group right now, all of you guys know that I am trying my damnedest every second that I have to engage in that group. I didn't just start it so it could run on its own. I didn't just pull the thing like a lawnmower and let it go. I'm in there engaging, starting conversations, asking questions, introducing people to each other. You have to start a real conversation because that's what deepens the relationship with your audience. And I'm going to use the comedian analogy again. When comedians are up on stage, they will ask questions of people in the audience. They will make fun of people in the audience. They will skewer a heckler in the audience. They connect with the audience and they read their audience. That's another thing. I don't have a slide for this, but I'm going to talk about this. They read their audience and how they are responding to what they are sharing. You have to start a real conversation. You have to learn what they like. You have to learn what they don't like. You have to learn and adjust. Word of mouth travels best. you have this opportunity to show your personality, to show your point of view, to show what you care about, what you love, the value that you hold inside of you, that you can share without expectation of return with the hope that it will help somebody else. And that subliminal reciprocity will come back. But you have to engage with people. You have to take that leap, hit post, face that scary demon of posting those first few things. And then once that post happens and you get a comment or you get a follower, you have to engage with them. I have answered every single comment I have gotten on YouTube. I've gotten over 10, 15,000 comments at this point. I haven't checked recently. I've answered every single one. And a lot of times people in the comments are like, oh my God, you answer every single comment. And you're right, I do, because I value every single person who took time out to watch one of my videos and then took the time to comment. If they take the time to comment and take the time to value my content, I value them and I will respond as thoughtfully as I can. And even if it's just, hey, thanks for watching, if they ask a smart comment, I will engage with them. Okay, and I'm gonna embarrass Joselle right now, but this is something I'm going to share this more in depth at some point, maybe on the Facebook group. But essentially, that's how I met. Sorry, I'm amping this out. It might be getting really loud. Was it getting distorted? Because I was like redlining here. I get excited. Joselle, my moderator and my marketing assistant, that's how I met her. She was engaging with me in the comments of my YouTube videos. She was asking really smart questions, and I was kind of blown away by how closely she was paying attention to my videos and the types of questions she was asking and the points of view that she was expressing. I got curious about this person who was engaging so well with me, and I went and I checked out her channel. That is what started my conversation with her, and that's what actually started our relationship, was my engaging with her in the comments and her engaging with me in those comments. Joselle, embarrassed? Ha 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 ha. Anyway, it's like that particular story is like a case study in how you develop a relationship and how you develop a close bond with an audience member. So that is it. And the last thing I want to say is that by sharing, getting up on stage, finding who you're talking to, decide what you're going to talk about, you are letting people in. You're letting people get to know you. It is incredibly exposing. You are opening yourself up to criticism. But here's the thing you'll find out. There are very, very few people out there who are maliciously critical. And the ones who have been with me, I remember every single one because I'm so sensitive. But the vast majority of people will appreciate the fact that you are providing value to them for free. They will get to know you by being consistent and offering great value. They will get to trust you, and they will like you. Know, like, trust. That's how it goes. Brand awareness, brand devotees, developing an audience. So that's what I wanted to share today in terms of starting up and developing an audience. And I hope you liked this content. It was totally fun for me to talk about. I'm now going to take my slide off the screen. And I'm going to promote the Facebook group again. Anyone who's watching who isn't a member of the Brand Design Masters Facebook group, which I just started about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, it is a group of entrepreneurs, creative professionals on Facebook who are banding together to network, act as a group, free mastermind. It's a private group. You have to apply. If you're an entrepreneur or creative professional, get in there, check it out. People are doing amazing things, sharing amazing stuff. There's incredibly talented people in there. There's people who are just starting off in their careers. So don't feel intimidated. Some people in there are feeling intimidated. But the energy and the creativity and the inspiration that's happening inside this group is mind-boggling. I'm so excited about it. And I feel very privileged to be leading it. So check that out, Brand Design Masters Facebook group. apply to be in it. And I'm going to pause one more time for my, for my pitch. BYOL, Daniel Scott's Bring Your Own Laptop Adobe training. Amazing subscription model. Use my affiliate link, byol.me/Philip, and I got a small percentage of your monthly subscription fee, like very small. But I wholeheartedly believe in Daniel Scott. He's a great buddy of mine. I've even featured him in my trend videos because he teaches people how to create the sort of effects of some of the design work that I've had in my trend videos. That's how he actually. There's another example. I'll leave this up there. Daniel Scott saw a couple of my annual trend videos, and he reached out to me in the comments, and he said, Phil, I don't know if you know this, I'm an Adobe trainer, and I have this website. I have been using your trend videos, some of the graphics in your trend videos, as examples to use in my training on my Adobe site. And I thought it would be great if we partnered up. And so we have. And it's been an amazing relationship. But my putting valuable content out there and then him responding and us starting that conversation is how beautiful things happen. So just thought I'd tell that little story, how that happened too. All right. So now is Q&A. And Colette can only stay an hour. So I knew that she could only stay an hour. She said that. Masha Paulex. I know I'm not getting your name right, but I keep trying, right? You got to send me a recording through Messenger on the Facebook group and tell me how you pronounce your name. Tracy. Okay, so I'm going to look in the questions. There's a whole ton of them here. This is great. I am going to start at the top. Are you guys good? Was that good? Did you enjoy it? Did you get some valuable content out there? I hope so. Vincent asked a really great question. I'm going to come back to that, Vince. That's a really good question. And I have done that, and I have some experience with that, and I have an opinion about that. If anyone knows me, they know that I have no shortage of opinions. Okay. Hashem. Let's see. I don't think I can't do this. I'd have to scroll all the way back in order to highlight the comment into the screen. So you're not going to see it. I'm just going to read it. Question. I get approached by clients from abroad and I hesitate taking them on because I do better with face-to-face meetings to better understand the project and communicate ideas. Any feedback? Yes. If you can only have face-to-face meetings with COVID-19, you are up the creek, my friend. So, you gotta start working on the Zoom game, because getting good at video conferencing and having meetings with people over video conferencing is going to massively open up. It will open up the entire world of clients to you. And I know it's harder. I do my entire agency business over Zoom with clients. I have clients, repeat clients who I've never met personally, who are across the world. And I have partners who work with me in my agency who I've never met personally. I have mentees who I've never met personally. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And just share your authentic self. Try not to act too much, because people can tell. You want to be professional, but if you show them your personality, who you are, your passion for what you do, that will show through. And the thing is here's the thing to remember about that. If you try to put on a show and you act a certain way, you have to, it's like a liar. It's like if you tell a lie, you got to remember the lie so you can make sure that you don't contradict yourself. If you're acting with a client, you got to act the same way forever. So I believe in being authentic and straightforward, because then you never have to worry about being yourself. Cash asks, is it okay to specialize in a niche area for the purpose of content marketing, or do you need to have a broader creative skill set to be successful at this? Specialize in a niche area for purpose of content. I advocate for, out of the gate, trying to be somewhat specialized, or at least very intentional about who your audience is and the type of content that you're going to be sharing. Because if you're not super intentional about it and you try to do it with too broad of a stroke, you are essentially throwing spitballs against the wall. You're just trying to see what sticks. And I think that what could happen is that something could stick that you're not super passionate about or that you don't know a lot about. And then you're stuck, because people are going to be expecting a lot more of that thing out of you that you're not prepared to really show up for. So I believe in niching down and sharing something you know really well. You can definitely add value on. It's not going to be hard for you to be consistent and develop content around it. And if you want to expand down the road, then do that. But the worst thing is to go out of the gate with something that you're kind of iffy about in terms of your skill set strength around it, because developing content consistently is hard. And you are going to come to a place where you are dry and you need to come up with inspiration. And if it's some place where you're not incredibly comfortable, that could be a deal breaker. Okay. Cash has another question. I'm going to scroll down and answer Vince's last question, which was good. Did she put it in here? Joselle, you missed Vince's question. If I don't get to all the questions, can I post the answers to YouTube video later? Join the Facebook group, and I'll try to address them there in video. I can't type out a lot of answers. Address them in a YouTube video. That's actually a good idea. Thanks for that idea, Vince. I might actually do it in the Facebook group. I'll get you to join the Facebook group. Vince asked a question about ghostwriting, and I'm going to scroll back to it because I thought it was a good question. Then I'll go back into that. He asked, can I do this? Let me see. Add to broadcast. Check that out. Vince asks, question, is hiring a content writer a good idea? Not very personal? Too expensive? Question mark. I have hired ghostwriters before. When I got really, really busy with my agency work and my YouTube workload, I know that I needed to have articles coming out on LinkedIn. And a couple times I came up with the idea, the general sense of it, and I hired a ghostwriter to write it, and I published those. I generally get my hands on it and kind of add to it, but it took the lion's share of the work out of my hands. The other thing that I use content writers for is turning my YouTube transcripts into articles, and I do that a lot. I transcribe my YouTube videos, and then I hand them to a writer partner of mine who I use in my agency, but she also acts as a content writer for me, and she turns my transcripts into articles. Good, well-written, sourced links, references, articles. Because a transcript from YouTube does not read like an article. It reads like a conversation, reads like an interview. And so the content is originally mine, the ideas are mine, the point of view is mine, and she just crafts it into something that's publishable. And I have creative control over it, and I sometimes nix things that she thought were great and I don't. But I have no problem about using content writers. Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit. Oh, that's by Vince. Sorry, I just answered one of your questions, Vince. I'm going to jump over. Okay. Let me know 21 LMK. That's what I'm using. How do you make sure that you get understood the right way and your message actually gets through? You have no control over how people take in your message, but you have complete control over how articulate you are in putting it out there. People can misunderstand you. Everybody brings their own personal baggage to every bit of content that they consume. I've gotten, mean, nasty comments over things that I've written or done videos about from people who entirely missed the point of the video. Or they brought with it some sort of stick up their butt that they had to express because they were having a bad day. And all you can really do is do your best, put it out there, and move on. Come back and check the comments, answer the comments, move on. The best antidote to not feeling like you did a great job is to do a better job the next time. Okay, Mariana asks, how true is it about posting on your Instagram, for example, on certain times to get more engagement or hitting certain hour for certain states or countries? Mariana, it is very, very important, actually. And MailChimp, for instance, putting out emails, they have algorithms that will tell you what time is the best time to get the most engagement. YouTube, similar thing. TubeBuddy is a great plug-in tool. I think YouTube even has these analytics now that will tell you and suggest the best time for you to post what it is that you're posting. You can do a search on Google for the best time to post on Instagram and do a Google image search for that. Make sure that the image that you're sourcing is current, right? Because things like this change like every couple months. And you can get graphics about like what time of the day is the best time to post on Instagram or any social channel. And there are very specific social channel times which are better and worse than others. For instance, LinkedIn, Monday early morning, Tuesday early morning, not so great at the end of the week, because people are, they have energy at the beginning of the week. They're just getting into work. They want to take in a little content, before they jump into their day. There are certain times of the day that are better than others. Deb Strout asks, my favorite item that hits my email inbox. Oh, see, I didn't even read this ahead. It's Philip's email. I cull a lot of inspiration from his musings and always go through the links he includes. Thank you so much, Deb. I really, really appreciate that. That was not a question. That was a stroke, but I appreciate it. I definitely do. Swati asked the same question actually that Deb did, so I just answered that question. Animal Hospital of Statesville asks, our doctors do blogs on veterinary topics, but it's hard to get them to record a video on the same subject. How can I repurpose them, not a doctor, without feeling I'm plagiarizing them? Well, get their permission. If you are working at the hospital and you're going to do a video about the content or the articles that they've written or the knowledge that they have, as long as you attribute it to them, if they don't want to get on video, and you get their permission to post that content, then you can do it. You're not plagiarizing if you credit and if you get permission, okay? If you're stealing the content, stealing the point of view, reading their article aloud on a podcast without crediting them or getting their permission, that's not cool. Okay, Ben Hampson asks, if I wanted to pitch you for my podcast, how would I be best to ask? Ben, I'm okay. This is how I'm going to take the question because I'm not. If you wanted me to be on your podcast, what would be the best way for you to pitch me? The best way for you to pitch me is to come to me and say, I have this podcast. It'll take an hour of your time. My audience are X. I've been doing it for X number of months or seasons. I have so many X number of downloads. I think that your opinion on this topic would be really great. Or I'd really like to ask you about this subject. Or I have a theme idea for this podcast. I'd like to interview you and ask you about it. Giving them an idea of the topic of your podcast, the audience, the size, how long it's going to take them, what they're going to be talking about, and then you leave it up to them because you can't force anybody. But giving them that sort of context around your podcast and email them and just ask them. And if you don't hear back, don't take it personally. Lots of people who want to get interviewed for a podcast get a lot of invitations like that. Just follow up in a week. And if you don't hear back, then, move on to the next person. Amy asks, this is great, but how do you have the time to do the actual design work and other things? It seems overwhelming. Amy, it is overwhelming. But this is why I take time to do it. It's because this is having an audience, developing the content is my advertising. It is what brings me my clients. So the time I would spend, I consider my content development time my advertising time, my marketing time. That's what it is. And I also believe that I am developing an evergreen library of the knowledge and the expertise that I have that I will be able to leverage for a long time. I will repurpose it. So every piece of content I do capture, every video I've done, I have repurposed in one way or another, or will. And so the more you develop, the more of a library you have that you can actually repurpose or manipulate to come out in a different form. So is it overwhelming? Yes, it is. I'm not going to lie. Yes, I have an agency. I have clients. I have to deliver work and strategy and design for them. And I have partners that I pay and give work to, etc. And then I do all of this, the Facebook group, the videos, the podcast, lives. But I have an incredible passion for it, right? I love it. I absolutely love it. When I get off these lives, I am like so massively pumped. It's crazy. Like, I'm just like, woohoo. And so I thrive on this. I love the engagement. I love the conversations. I love it when people learn something that affects their lives in a positive way. One of the videos I did, I've done a couple videos on this about how to like really ace a graphic designer interview, and or how to present your portfolio, things like that. And whenever I get a comment from somebody that says, "I'm so glad I came across this video. I have an interview tomorrow," I always comment back and say, "Come back and tell me how it went." And I can't tell you how many times people come back and they're like, "I got the job." And that just like, it literally makes my whole life worthwhile. I love that engagement. It means so much to me. So I make time for it. And it feeds my business and feeds my soul. Robert says, "Thanks so much. Why did you choose YouTube instead of Facebook Live?" I did because I have a larger audience on YouTube right now, and I wanted to expose my YouTube audience to my Brand Design Masters Facebook group. Thanks for the segue. Because I wanted anyone in my YouTube audience who didn't know that I started this Facebook group, which I've announced in my email list, so my email list knows about it. I wanted everyone from YouTube to be able to get there. And then I'm going to be doing some Facebook Lives. I am going to be doing some private videos for my Facebook group that only members of that private group are going to be able to see. So there's going to be some exclusive content that I do for them. But this is my largest platform, and that's why I do it here. But also because I wanted to kind of expose people to the new Facebook group and hopefully get them to come over and bring their friends. Okay. All right. Trench asks, "You spend a lot of time reaching out to create an audience with your videos, newsletters. How much time do you have to dedicate to doing this, especially when you have a full-time job?" Let's say I do this probably 2 full days a week, if broken up, right? My content development, I batch record my videos. So it generally takes me 6 or 7 hours to write 4 videos, the speaking notes. It takes me about 3 hours to record them. I have Joselle, my marketing assistant, who edits them. And then I schedule them to go out once a week for a month. So by batch writing and batch recording, it's a lot easier and simpler than doing things one at a time. Because if you have to, write it, record it, edit it, write all the metadata, post it, all that sort of stuff every week, you're doing that repetitive cycle of work every single week. It's better to do 4 of them at the same time and go through that cycle with 4, because then I can walk away from YouTube videos for a month until the next month. So batch producing is really, really handy. You can do that with tweets. You can do that with, you can use Hootsuite to post stuff on a schedule. Super, super handy. So, yeah, but it's I love it. And I also make time for it. I'm going to scroll back a little bit because I know I jumped over some. Okay. John Flea asks, I practice Illustrator and Photoshop on and off for years now. I would like to become more professional, but cannot decide in which direction I should go. Any advice? John, that's a very, very open question, and I don't know that I can give you a super helpful answer on that because it is so unspecific. What I would say is start putting together a portfolio of the type of work that you want to do. And if that's, print, if it's websites, if it's animation, if it's game art, whatever that is, start giving yourself fake jobs in the type of work that you want to do, and practice, copy the masters, and then find a community like the Facebook, Brand Design Masters community or other to share it in and ask for feedback. That will help you grow. It will give you feedback on what you're great at, what you're not so great at, and also by doing those things and giving yourself fake projects, you will also start to learn at what you like doing the most, what you don't like doing the most. And knowing that stuff before you go locking yourself into some gig somewhere is very smart. So explore, do a lot of stuff. If you're learning the programs themselves, start putting that program application to work in real life situations. Okay. Okay. Stuff is slowing down. Hashim asks, when can you make a video about your most interesting projects and case studies? Hashem, I will share that in the Facebook group. I could do that live in more of a private setting, because some of the most interesting projects and case studies that I've done, I did in my corporate and agency days. I've been doing this on my own for 4 years, so I have some very interesting ones here too. But the ones that I think a lot of people could super benefit from are, I am under confidentiality agreements that I really can't share a lot of detail on them because the clients own it and the agency that I worked for or the company I worked for owns it. So there's, IP and copyright and stuff like that, agreements that I've signed that I can't share. But I will share some, and I'll do it inside the Facebook group. How about that? Oh, wow. This is a really good question. Mark L. Asks, how do you decide between the content you most enjoy doing and the content that sells better? That's a great question because, and that's something that I said I was going to kind of touch on, is that you have to really pay attention to what your audience is responding to. What your audience responds to may not always be the thing that you want them to respond to. And if you want to build your audience, you either stay your course and do just the content that you want to do and have only the people show up that are going to loving that sort of content. Or if you are dead set on growing your audience, the type of content that people want from you is the stuff that's going to be popular. And then you have to pay attention to your successes and follow that content with other content that's like it. And building that, you have to pay attention to your audience. Like I said, like a comedian or an actor on stage, you have to you have to play to the audience. If the audience wants a certain kind of thing from you, that's what you play to, so you don't get tomatoes thrown at you. So it's a decision that you have to make. If you are dead set on doing one kind of content, whether the audience likes it or not, then you have to accept the audience growth level that you have. If you notice that there is some sort of magnetism in something that you do that is increasing your audience numbers or your audience engagement, play that thing if you want your audience to grow. Okay. Mariana asks, would it be possible for me to design this video into an engaging list for you to use on your newsletter for free? I want to practice how to make them and rather do one for a real person. Design this video into an engaging list. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but generally the stuff that I put in my newsletter is curated content that I've found and that I find particularly valuable. So you'd have to show me what you're talking about. Okay. So seems like we're slowing down. I'm going to do and we're nearing an hour and a half, which is where I start to peter out. The Red Bull, even though I still have some left. Hold on a second. My voice starts to go. My attention starts to kind of fracture a little bit. This has been awesome. Thank you guys so much. And for anyone who's still hanging around, I'm going to do one kind of last plug. A couple actually. If you're not a member of the brand, here, I'll grab it. If you're not a member of the Brand Design Masters Facebook group, please come over and apply. We would really love to have you there. It's full of creative professionals and entrepreneurs. And it's a great group. There's people sharing inspiration and knowledge and methods and asking for feedback and sharing their portfolio work. It's a really eclectic group of people, both in terms of skill set and in terms of seniority. Great place to be. I know. Giselle says, Red Bull free advertisement. I should be getting an endorsement deal for this thing. The other thing that I wanted to just mention and going out is that if you're not a member of my newsletter or on my email list, please go to philipvandusen.com/muse. Sign up for my newsletter. It comes out every 2 weeks. Right now it's coming out a little less frequently than that because I've bitten off a whole lot of stuff with a podcast and a Facebook group that is making it tough. And my client work is, doing quite well considering the COVID thing. And so I'm juggling a lot of balls. So I hope that you are understanding. And so all of you guys who have come and asked amazing questions, Hashem, Vincent, Swati, Rick, Peter, as usual, Laura, Masha, Paulex. It is great, absolutely great to have you guys here. I did it at a different time. Weigh in the comments and let me know this. I did this at a different time. Last week I did it at 11 a.m. Eastern time because it makes it a lot easier for all the European people to join. I did it later at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because it makes it easier for the West Coast people and the Hawaii people to join. And it's hard when you have global audiences and they are in different time zones, because I want to make this available to a lot of people. And you guys are here. So was it a struggle for you to come at this time? Is this a good time for you? Good time for Pacific Coast? Yes, it is. And that was my choice. And Kyle is here. Kyle is an awesome guy who's had a career that's very close to mine, in fact, kind of in the fashion industry and then into graphics and marketing. Very talented guy. Expect to see him in the Facebook group. And so, oh, good. You just signed up. Awesome. That's cool. I will approve you. And so this has been great. And Kyle's on the West Coast too, so he made it. So that's awesome. So obviously good for the East Coast. Better for me, actually, in Portugal. Thanks, Joel. Joel is an amazing guy. His company, Growing Design, is a partnership of freelancers. And I asked him to bring his team into the Facebook group, which he did. So you got to ask, and then it happens. So that's how you grow your audience. You have to reach out to the people who you're resonating with and ask them. So Marvy says, I just leave the video playing when I'm at work. It's like something else. I don't know what you're talking about, Marv. You're having your own conversation in the feed. It's no struggle at all. I'm located in Guadalajara, Mexico. Niamat says, okay, well, that's cool. I would love to be in Mexico right now. The weather is so crappy outside of New York City and New Jersey right now. I would love to be that. Brianna says, works for me in the Midwest. Awesome. So this has been great, guys. Thank you so much as usual. If you would do me a favor, and if you are, again, I'm going to beg, if you are a member of the Facebook group, please reach out to your friends, your network, post it on LinkedIn, post it on Twitter, invite people to the group, because I really want it to become vibrant and large and populated. And you guys have gotten in on the ground floor, which is awesome. You are going to have a hand in crafting what this group becomes. And who you choose to share it with by word of mouth will affect how this group manifests itself. And we are wanting to kind of form it by the people who are there. Dason, Motion Master Templates, thanks for staying, bud. I appreciate that. Dason is part of my mastermind group and very talented motion designer. And he made the time after our mastermind, which happened just before this, to come on in. So I appreciate that. Bar Brokhoff, perfect timing for me on the west coast of Norway. Awesome. Norway in the house. All right. Well, let's see you collab in an interview for the Future channel. Mariana, I was interviewed for the Future podcast by Chris Do. Chris Do has also been interviewed on my podcast, and his interview is in season 1 of the Brand Design Masters podcast, which I should put up here. Looks like this. Thumbnail looks like that. Chris Do's on the first season, and he interviewed me for his podcast too. Chris is awesome. We're pretty close. We've talked about doing a live event together when this COVID thing clears out. That's one of my goals, with a couple other kind of creative leaders in the industry. So good suggestion, kind of done already. Anyway, so check out the podcast too. Season 2 will be dropping very soon. I hope that you check that out. Share that with friends too. I'd really appreciate it. And I hope I was able to really give you guys some great value today in terms of building an audience from scratch. Building an audience has done amazing things for my agency, for my client base. It has done, I'm told, amazing things for my audience in what I've shared and what it's been able to enable them to do. It is a passion of mine. It is something that I bring to everything that I do, is bringing the value of branding and design and strategy and surviving and growing and thriving in the creative economy. And so I pass that on, and through virtuous karma, it brings me clients, and it also builds an audience. And I'm going to teach you guys absolutely everything that I know to help you build an audience too. To help you build great, successful agencies and creative practices and careers. And all you got to do is engage with me through Facebook Messenger, through the Facebook group, to tell me what it is that you want to see, what your business is lacking, what you want to learn. Because I listen to you and I take direction from you, and I want to help you. And there's going to be some really exciting stuff. I'll just close with this. There's going to be some really exciting stuff coming down the pike in just a week or two. Opportunities to work with me and a very tight group of people, very personally. It's not going to be free. It's going to cost something. Still working out the price, but it's going to be very intimate. And full of an incredible amount of value, I absolutely guarantee you. So if that's something that you're going, maybe I'll look into that. Please do hit me up on Facebook. Let's talk about it. A lot of it will become much more clear in the next week or so. So thank you guys again so very much for being here. Robert from Ottawa, great to see you. And Ellie, Ben, Sandy, Giselle, thank you so much as usual for moderating this. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I pray that you and yours are safe and happy and healthy, and that you stay that way. Be careful. Everyone in the world is starting to get crazy and loosen up a little bit. We want to be very careful that we don't set this monster loose again, right? So be safe, be creative, join the Facebook group, and have a fantastic weekend. And thank you so much for giving me your time today, because it's really made my day. So I hope to see you inside, and have a great time on your day. And if you have any other questions, shoot them to me in the comments of this video. Oh, by the way, this live video will be posted within hours, depending on the YouTube algorithm, on YouTube. So if you came in late or you had to leave early, you can check it out there. Or if you think anybody else might benefit from what I shared in this video, you can point them there. So again, Brianna, Vince, Francesca, Daniel, so good seeing all of you, and I will catch you on the flip side. Okay? So have a great rest of your weekend. Bye now.